Welcome to my basement. Well, this is my other basement. Let's brew some beer. So this will be quite different from the normal content on my channel, but hey, everybody likes beer. I've already done an episode detailing the build of the brewery, which is powered by a Raspberry Pi. So I won't go through all that again. I will link that episode in the description. This time we will actually brew beer on the equipment, and as we do that I will also go through the basics of beer brewing. To make alcohol you need sugar, and in beer you extract that sugar from malt. So the first step is to grind the malt, to crack it open basically, so that you are able to extract the sugar. So yeah, let's do that. So this is the malt. It's a mixture of Pilsner malt, Pale Ale malt and Maris Otter. I'm aiming for a Pale Ale today. And I have about almost 10 kilograms of malt. And now I need to run it through my monster mill to crush it, to open up the grains so that you get into the core and can extract the sugars using the mashing process, as it's called, and we will come back to that once we have prepared the grains. So yeah, let's get started. Yeah, this is how it looks once you have crushed it. It's a balance between crushing it too much and ending up with just fine material, and you can get what's called a stuck mash, and we will come back to that as well, hoping that it won't happen. It hasn't happened yet, so I'm hopeful. But also you need all grains to be crushed, because if some percentage is not crushed, you will extract less sugar and your yield goes down, as they call it. The amount of sugar you are able to extract, and basically you have to use more grain to get the correct sugar balance. Yeah, one other thing, you don't need to crush your own grains. All suppliers of malt that I know of, at least, can crush the grain for you. The benefit, however, by buying whole grains is that you can store them for years without them going bad. But if they are already crushed, they have a expiry date. I'm not sure how long you can keep crushed malt because I've never used it, but yeah, that's something to keep in mind. If you're just starting out brewing, however, you don't need to invest in crushing equipment. You can just get your supplier to do it for you. And yeah, as you can see, the grain is crushed. I think it turned out quite nicely. So yeah, let's get mashing. And that will extract the sugar from the malt. I do circulation while mashing, so I circulate the water or the wort between the boiling tun and the mash tun, as you will see shortly. So just a quick recap of how my system works. What you're looking at now is the boil tun, and this is the mash tun. And the hot water is pumped from the boil tun to the mash tun, and then it drains back to the boil tun using gravity. So yeah, I only need one pump to get this functional. And as you can see, there is a false bottom to prevent the grain from draining to the boil tun, so to keep the grain in the mash tun. And then there is this thingy which will ensure that we keep the correct level of water in the mash tun and don't drain the boil tun empty. Okay, so that's basically how it looks. I have added the grains or the malt to the mash tun, and we are now circulating water. This one will prevent the boil tun to be drained and also overflowing the mash tun. And as you can see, the circulation is working. Once you start to extract the sugar from the malt, the liquid you are left with is called wort. So yeah, we are circulating wort through the boil tun, up to the mash tun, and it's draining back to the boil tun. This process lasts for an hour, 60 minutes to 90 minutes. So yeah, we will leave it for now and let the software control the step mashing, the different temperatures during mashing. So yeah, just a quick overview of the software. Even though I featured it on a different video, we can see the different steps of the recipe. We are now in the mash step, which is 1 hour and 15 minutes. Before at 65 degrees, before I raise the temperature at 77 for the mash out step, and then we are going to boil the wort for 1 hour and 30 minutes. I have not inserted the hop steps into this recipe. The reason for that is that I started to heat the water before I crushed the grain and before I calculated the hops and when to add them. And the reason for that is that it actually takes quite some time to heat up 50 liters of water. So I started the recipe basically before it was completed. Yeah, we are 8 minutes into the mashing step, so let's come back later. We are still mashing, and as you might see, the wort is much clearer now than when we started. And that's because the grain bed in the mash tun actually clears the beer up after it's been circulating for a while. And we can see that the level is constant at about 35 liters. And yeah, as you can hear, the pump has stopped and the tank is now draining, so the mashing process is basically done. What remains is to let this drain into the boil tun, and after that we will do something that's called sparging, or washing the grains basically. 1 kilogram of grain holds about 1 liter of wort, and in my case I used about 10 kilograms of malt, so about 10 liters is captured in the grains right now. And to release that so that we are not 10 liters short when we are finished, we need to wash the grains or sparge the grains with an equal amount of water. So I will wash it with 10 liters of water, which I have preheated to the same mashing temperature. So now it will sit there for about 5 minutes, and then we will drain the remainder to the boil tun, and then we are finished with the flavor and sugar extraction. Next step is to boil the wort, and when it starts boiling, we reach what is known as the hot break. And we need to pay attention at this point because the tun might boil over. So the wort is currently at 85 degrees, so it's still some time until it boils. To avoid it boiling over, as I talked about, you can use one of these and just spray clean cold water on the foam, and yeah, that will fix the issue. So like any other brewery, I need some good ventilation when the boil starts, because we evaporate about or over a liter every hour, maybe nearly 2 liters actually. So if you don't have good ventilation, it will get really damp. And I've actually tried 3 different vents before I ended up with this industrial one. It's very good, but it makes a lot of noise. So once the boil start and I turn on the vent, you probably won't hear what I'm talking about. So yeah, I'm not going to talk much. But I will of course show you the process nevertheless. But just to step through what's remaining now, it's to boil the wort for 1.5 hours. During that time, we will add the hops at the different intervals. One hop addition at the 60 minutes before the end, and the last one 10 minutes before the end. You boil the wort to concentrate it, to get the off flavors boiled off, as they call it, and also to sanitize your wort. Once the boil is finished, you cool down the wort, and after that everything the wort comes in contact with should be sanitized. And I use something called Star San to do that. But yeah, let's wait for it to boil, and I'll be back to show you the hot break. So yeah, we can see it's starting to boil, and the hot break part is when the water kind of breaks away from the foam. So yeah, we have a hot break and we have a rolling boil, which is important. And now we just need to ensure that it doesn't boil over, which can happen pretty quickly. But once it starts to boil regularly for 2 to 3 minutes, you can start to add the hops. And then you can see it's starting to boil. And now we just need to ensure that it doesn't boil over, which can happen pretty quickly. So boiled for a little while, it will become stable and you don't need to watch it anymore. So that's it, I believe. What we need to do next is to turn on the vent. We're still boiling the first hop addition, which will boil for 60 minutes. And the next addition will be in 50 minutes from now. So at this time it's about 10 minutes left of the boil, so we will do the last hop addition. But before that we will put in the cooler so that it gets sanitized by the boiling wort. Yeah, so let's do that. And then we will do the last hop addition, which is the aroma hops. Then this will boil for the last 10 minutes and we will start cooling the wort by running water through this coil. And as you can see, we are at 45 liters after the boil, meaning that we boiled off 5 liters of water. So yeah, let's hook up the cooler. It's basically just yeah, you can see cold water flowing in and warm water flowing out through the wall. And it will take about 30 minutes to cool the wort down to about 20 degrees so that we can pitch the yeast. So in 22 minutes we managed to bring the wort down to 20 degrees Celsius. And what remains is to put the wort into this fermentation bucket and stir some oxygen into the wort and then pitch the yeast. So there's one thing remaining, and that is to measure the original gravity of the wort. So I have picked up some beer from the bucket. To measure original gravity, or OG, you need a hydrometer, and the reason you measure that is to figure out how much sugar we extracted from the grains. And if you measure before fermentation, which is original gravity, you can take that number and then you measure after fermentation and you get what's called final gravity. and you put these numbers into an equation and you get the alcohol volume out. So yeah, after my calculation, it should be something like 1.05, and after fermentation it should be something like 1.01, and that should give me a beer that is about 5%. Basically have to spill, I guess. Not sure that is enough actually. We'll see. And then we put the hydrometer in and we will see where it... And this is always difficult because the foam is in the way at all times. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're able to see through the foam, but basically I hit the target, which was 1.050. So yeah, so far so good. We will put this wort back into the bucket and we will pitch the yeast next. So before we pitch the yeast, we try to get some oxygen into the wort to help the fermentation along. Once it starts fermenting, it should not get any oxygen, but before it should, so let's stir it for a while. Yeah, the yeast I use for this pale ale is Safe Ale US 05, which is a dry yeast. I usually use dry yeast because I don't have a supplier near me, so that I can buy liquid yeast. Anyway, 2 of these packs for 20 liters should be more than enough. This is a water lock, and the meaning of this one is to prevent oxygen from entering the container once the fermentation has started, but to let the CO2, which the fermentation process is releasing, to escape through this lock. Okay, so this is the other side of the brewery, and the box you see here is my fermentation chamber, which helps me to keep a stable temperature during fermentation, and this beer will be fermented at 20 degrees for 2 weeks, and then I'll probably cold crush it meaning that I will lower the temperature to maybe 2 degrees for 2-3 days to make most of the stuff floating around in the beer settle on the bottom, so that I can avoid that when I keg it, and thus get a more clear beer. But yeah, let's put the buckets in, and then we are actually done. So yeah, that's basically how I make beer, and we now have about 40 liters fermenting. I will fill that into 2 kegs, where each keg takes about 19 liters. So it won't be exactly 40 liters when I'm done, but pretty close. That's it for this time. My next video on this channel will probably be something computer related again. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I do hope to see you next time.